Today, we're going to be able to talk to Mark Bloom, who is a seasoned entrepreneurial sales executive. He has more than 20 years of record-breaking success driving revenue growth with some of our great vendors, and he's been recognized as the 2025 CRN Channel Chief. He knows channels. He knows how to work with partners, and he's been recognized as one of the most influential people in the backup and disaster recovery space. He has a great track record of coaching and helping sales teams grow. And personally, I've been working with him for 12 years and one of the best partners that we've worked with because of how he approaches it. Today, you're going to learn through the conversation really what makes a partnership work and how you can be a better partner, both from the vendor and from the reseller side, but also how that translates into taking care of a customer and how we all work together to create a win-win scenario. Josh, anything you want to add to what we've just learned and what people have a chance to look forward to in this podcast session?
I think everybody's going to be excited to hear Mark. He's got a lot of experience, a lot of wisdom in this industry specifically. And it's just great fun to talk to him. I mean, really learning about how to, sell. His approach to sales and partnerships, I think, is something that resonates really well with us, but also with our partners and customers. And I think it's going to be a great conversation for everybody to listen to.
We started this podcast. This is our Tech to Exec podcast so that we can talk to executives and help our clientele, CEOs and CIOs and IT managers really understand how to talk to each other and really how to use communication to just get better outcomes for their businesses. That's our intent. We love that you've joined and our podcast. We love that you're a partner. And so we just want you to introduce yourself and tell us, a little bit about your background and some of your perspective on technology today. And we'll ask some better questions as we get forward, but
Sure.
just tell us who you are and why people should be excited about this next hour of conversation that we're going to have.
That's so loaded.
Yeah, it is.
Luckily, you can't get it wrong.
No. I mean, honestly, when the opportunity came up, I couldn't have pushed the button faster to say yes. I've done a couple of these on the MSP side, and we did it at Channel Partners last year, and we could have gone on for 3 or 4 hours. And I said, it's funny. I go back and forth between Salt Lake and Idaho Falls all the time for stuff I do on coaching, and then also I get better flights out of Salt Lake. And as much as I go down there all the time, I just tell people that it's crazy to me that I can put on a podcast about any topic and just for the next 3 hours disappear. There is no like left or right. It's just whatever's in front of me, and I'm listening to the about industry, sports, movies, like whatever. I listen to Joe Rogan a lot, and I just love that kind of atmosphere it builds because it's people learning about what people do, what triggers them, what gets them to do certain things, and I'm a big proponent of it.
Well, and you've taught me a lot, even from our first interaction. Do you remember back in your Unitrends days, you called me 10 times and emailed me. I didn't give you any time or even say we want to talk. And then you finally emailed and called and said, "Are you an idiot? Like, I've got a deal for you." And you might have said idiot. Like, you're
what Mike
dumb.
heard anyway.
You're dumb if you don't work with me. And let's work together. And whatever you said in that call, which was that, I don't appreciate being called that. And so I'm like, I'm not an idiot. I better call him back. And we started working together, and it's been a great, how is that 10-ish years, 10, 15?
So I looked it up, Mike. It's in August, it will be 12 years.
Wow.
12 years. That's awesome. I
I
appreciate
can
you
check
doing it.
when I hooked on with somebody on LinkedIn, and it was 2014.
Okay.
Look at that.
Those were the
And
Untrends days.
I'll clarify. I called you once a week for an entire year because it was a pop-up on my calendar, and I just did it religiously because Utah was the only state where I wasn't getting much traction, and everyone said you got to work with Volcom, got to work with Volcom, and so I started off with you guys, and I started working with Red Sky and everybody else. The only people that haven't been acquired are you.
I think it's interesting. I don't know, Mike, if this is where it started, but I can tell you, Mike, one of the things Mike has done ever since then, at least, is as he talks to other partners and other people and said, hey, if you want to work with Valcom, you bring us a deal, you bring the sales reps a deal, and they're going to be in. They're going to help you. And I just think that probably had a lot to do with it, right?
Well,
The
I
beginning of that was really something that we've adopted so much as we've tried to partner and build a partnership, right? You bring us and we're gonna help. We want everybody to win, right?
and this question comes up a lot because people are like, well, why do I have to give to get? And I'm like, in what relationship have you never had to give before you got something in return? That's what relationship is. And so, um, Dave Newman, I said, hey, your customer, and I thank God you gave me a list of everybody that was at the IT conference last year. And I saw one of the leads come through, and I'm like, I know that deal. And I looked it up and go, that's Dave Newman's deal. And it was a current customer of ours that was going to upsell and whatever. And I brought Dave into the deal. I said, here's the renewal date. They're probably looking for something else. Call him. And he's like, I'll be damned. I called into there and they said, yeah, we're looking at doing this. And I'll pop the deal. And we're still working on it right now. And it's through that kind of partnership that you have to give to get in any type of a relationship. And so the people that are reluctant to do it don't understand the balance. Because I have a partner that all they do is bring me deals. And I don't give them anything in return. And it finally came up and I was waiting for them to ask, like, what are you guys going to do for us? I'm like, okay, this is what we can't be doing with you. And it's funny that a lot of times relationships are very one-sided, and it's what I've always tried to do in my career is balance that out to where it's a partnership, and I do it both personally, professionally, and it's just I get more reward out of it. I love the fact I've been working with you guys this long.
Yeah. What best practices would you tell a vendor to really look for? First, understanding that it's a two-sided relationship, you got to give to get. What else would you want? As you've seen several different partnership
it's a really
models.
good question, and I think that the biggest thing that I do in every relationship that I approach, I have 6 qualifications that I use, and the first thing I determine is what value am I going to bring to them as a vendor. Like if I'm working within Utah, which is one of those states like Nevada, where the customers don't like to go outside and work with other people. They're very local and regionalized. And so when you're trying to break into a market like Utah, and you have this great product, but how does it connect with the company you're working for? If they sell a lot of networking and cabling and things that it's hardware related, and they don't sell much security, is that really a partnership where you're going to have to reinvent the wheel, right? Or are you going to go in and teach them something like the first time that we sat down about Sectigo? I said, here's all these things. You're like, we've never done this. Those are the kinds of things that I want to be able to bring to a partnership, is that what am I going to be of value to you about? If you don't understand that going in, then it's going to be very hard for you to navigate that relationship, because you're always going to try to find a foot in the door that's going to get you more access. Where if you just go in there with the approach of like, let me understand how I'm going to build this relationship. What value am I going to bring to any partner that I'm working with? Is that I look at those qualities first before I jump in and say, sell our stuff. Because if there's no way to connect those two dots, you're just going to be always looking and searching for a way in. And you have to provide a value and a connection when you do that. It's imperative.
So what 6 things do you have a actual 6 things like, hey, you go through this list or do you
I do. Like if a
let's hear
partner,
it.
yeah. So if a partner does an inquiry with us, is that the first thing I do is I try to understand how we can work well together. And this is before, I'll ask them like, what do you guys do? How do you work? Like really getting an understanding of how I can connect our sales team to their sales team. Because at the end of the day, that's who's working together the most. I go through and I try to establish that connection as much as I possibly can, because I feel that, if I don't set that tone in the beginning, that this is how there's a pattern and it's how it's going to work, then we're always going to be chasing it. So the next phase I go into is really understanding on what they do. What's important to them. Is it customer acquisition? Is it being a jack of all trades to your customer? Is it being that trusted advisor? Is that really what's important to you? Well, this is how we're going to add value to that. And then after it's all said and done, there is something that you need to do in regards to building out a plan. Like, do you talk to the engineers first? Do you talk to sales? Do you talk to marketing? How is the way that we're going to take this relationship and actually grow it? Because you can't start expanding unless you start growing the seeds first, right? You start with that, and as it sprouts out, you're bringing in marketing, you're bringing in sales, you're bringing in the technical side of it, and you're bringing it under one environment to get it to work together. And then once that understanding is met, then there has to be something that we do that is different, that is special, that puts in a connection to something. It could be unique in an industry. It could be a unique way that we work with a partner. I know one thing that's really valuable, that one of the first things that I did when I came over to Sectigo was we turned into a channel-friendly organization. And that means that whether we run into you in the first part of the deal or at the 5-yard line of a deal, is that we welcome that in. And if there's always going to be a reluctance of us bringing in like, oh, we're going to take it direct or something like that, unless you understand that trigger that's going to make the two teams work together, that's where the understanding comes into it. And once you connect and made that really sticky, then you have to start realizing what good looks like. Is that customer acquisition? Is it servicing the customers that you have? If you're a company like Vulcam that really wanted to get into security a couple of years back and really started to put a focus where they wanted to be the trusted advisor to that customer, I know that's one of the things that we talked about a couple of years ago, is that how do we help you make that pivot? Those are important things that if you don't walk through and understand how that works, then again, I don't like mysteries. I don't like surprises. I'm not a big fan of them. I love being prepared in everything that I do. And I don't like gotchas. I don't like finding a way, if I have this great channel program, we do all these great things, but we're not friendly in the channel, it's not going to work. And I hate gotchas. I'm the kind of guy that likes to get the invitation to his own birthday party. I don't like surprises.
Yeah. I was looking at your kind of all the places that you've been and this idea of kind of partnership, especially around the channel. When did you realize that as you've kind of helped to build that, I think at Sectigo or maybe other places, was there a point in your career where you're like, hey, the channel is the best way to do this, or a good way for kind of these vendors to be successful? Or how did that come about, kind of that belief? Of course, I'm on the channel side. I've believed it maybe my whole life, but when did that happen for you?
Day 3 of working at Paragon Software. I came from the finance industry and I was really successful there. And when I got into IT, I didn't know anything about the channel. I knew how to sell. And the CEO of Crohn's had just stepped down. And I fired a message to him. I said, I've heard great things about Crohn's, great things at what you did. I'd love to bend your ear. And he gave me the time. And I wrote down frivolous notes. And the one reoccurring theme that he kept pushing, and this is again, we were competitors with Acronis at the time, is he told me is that you always have to treat your partners a certain way. And no matter where you go, no matter what you sell, it's that experience that you build. Because if you go to different places, all you do is you pick up that mantra and put it under a new, different product. And so I took those principles from the beginning, and I never got sick at sea on them. And I still use them to this day. My partners are not just partners, they're my customers. Is that I always treat my partners that way. It's like, it's a special bond that, like, I've been working with Volcom at 4 different companies for we're 12 years now. And no matter what, is that I've gone in, and it helped the first time I got in the door, like, okay, I understand what you're doing. But everything that I told Mike, I delivered on. So I never overpromised something and then didn't deliver on it. A lot of companies go in saying, well, we could do all these things, but they don't deliver. And that was one of the things that he really kind of pressed upon me, was that if you say something, you got to do it. If you're channel friendly, you got to prove it. And I just kept that wherever I've gone, is that my channel principles I've been able to install in every aspect of our company. And the great thing about it is our CEO, this is my second stint with him, is that here's a guy who loves the channel, understands the value of it. And when he said, come in and help rebuild this thing, I took my principles and put them through. But when he's pushing them down, it's different. And when you have that buy-in and everything else, it makes my job easier, because I don't have to go in and sell everybody. It's like, hey, we're a channel company. Get in line, and we've done that. And it's one of the reasons why I came back to work with him. He's a very tough CEO. Nobody works harder that I've ever seen in the industry. And he's just been, that was the thing that got me to resign from my last company to come join him. Was, I know this guy's tough, but he's all channel. And it's one of those times where you'll take less money, or you'll do something outside your comfort zone just to be able to work with that individual again. And it was one of those things that drove me to Sectigo, to be honest.
That's awesome.
How do you get, so I mean, so many places we could go from here, because I think I am always experiencing vendors that come in, they try to pitch me, and they don't deliver, they don't follow up, they don't add value, they don't try to understand where we're at and what our goals are, they don't align their product, and then they just say, well, why aren't we working well together? And I give them our list of what it takes. Like, we are ease of gross margin dollar, we are cybersecurity focused, and we're really trying to first and foremost take care of our clients. Like I say, look, we'll work together well if you do these things. If you are in demand from our clients, when we share, you have a great product that solves our clients' needs, we will work with you. If you invest in us like a good channel partner in your channel, and that includes investing in marketing, and that you're great to work with our sales team. And those are a few of our principles that we're looking for when we look for a good partner. And I think you outlined that beautifully. Anything you would tell resellers and partners like us, like what you would want us to understand from your point of view?
It's very simple. It's transparency. If you don't understand what we do, let us know. If you don't understand how it's going to apply to your customer, let us know. It goes back to, if you asked a dad in the 70s to go ask a gas station person for directions, they would never do it. They would rather get lost for 2 hours and drive around and find it themselves. It's that pride that gets in the way of things, is that what a lot of suppliers don't understand is you have a line card of everything that you sell. And for you to be an expert on every single solitary product that you have in your environment is impossible to know everything. There are some partners that do a great job of that. I think Volcom does, but it goes through some of the things that I call channel drivers. And what's the contribution that we could bring to the table? Is that when you look at the way that a supplier and partner work together and they contribute together, is that transparency has to come through. Is that what you don't know will teach you, what you don't understand will teach you. If there's any questions where something doesn't make sense, we'll go over it. And it's us contributing to you on education, not just what we sell, what our product does. Because not every product or every customer is going to like what we do. How are you going to be able to pivot off of that? I know our salespeople always get hung up on, well, there's a competitor in here. So what? There's a competitor in every deal. The competitor could be someone in procurement. It could be someone that doesn't understand the value of it. There's always a competition in every single part of the deal that you have to win over in every aspect. And so when a partner understands those qualities and things, and we understand how the partner works, that transparency always leads to success. And so from a partner's point of view, is that if there's one thing that I could always tell people is that when you are transparent where you need help, where you need advancement, that those are the things you need to be vocal about. If we don't understand a customer and how they buy, and you've done a lot of transactions with them, we want to know what that process looks like. Because where most deals get lost is in a quoting stage. Because the partner doesn't understand how to verbalize it. The customer doesn't understand the quote, and you have to walk them through that. And sometimes a salesperson doesn't articulate the value of walking the partner through that and also the customer through that. With all the different products that you position, is that it's hard to be an expert on everybody's way that they quote and sell. So that transparency really, to me, is the difference maker, because when I understand what you do, I'm not having to place 40 calls in you to try and figure it out. I know exactly how we work together. I know exactly how you've walked me through all these things. And I feel that the thing that's going to be the biggest value is that I preach this to our sales team all the time. There's 3 ways the deal gets done. There's a way a partner positions it, there's a way a customer buys it, and there's a way that we sell it. And then everybody's process, there's gaps. So as long as we understand the transparency and where the gaps are, and we can help each other along the way, that's when a deal goes and works out for everybody, works for the customer first and foremost. And then it benefits the both of us that we're not only able to bring something new to the customer, but also identify an issue that's happening out, in other customers that you have. So that transparency is key.
Love that. I love that. You have an interesting story of how you got into this industry that plays into some of your early career in this industry. Can you share that? I just think it's compelling. I think it's instructive. We are talking to a lot of business owners, and really what you would tell them from that experience, if you can share that.
Yeah,
it's
the craziest thing ever is that I was a part of a finance company that lost all their data because we went from active gold mine and didn't back up our databases. So we wiped them. And if you've ever seen panic on somebody's face when something catastrophic happens, we sent everybody home and got in the conference room and said, what do we do? And the biggest problem in all that is that we had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars acquiring leads and building up our portfolio. And myself, I had, north of about 1,000 deals that I've done. And when all that data was gone, it was paralyzing to the company. And we spent months trying to get the data back, hiring temps to re-put the data back, We lost a lot of our big brokerage houses that we worked with because we weren't compliant. And I got out of the business because an IT consultant said, this is what's going to cost to fix your problem. And I'm looking at the bottom of the order and I'm like, that's a lot of money. I'm like, how do I get into your line of work? He's like, go take a pay cut and work for a software company. And I took his advice and I went from making really good money to very low money to learn the industry. And it goes back to what I told you. My third day, I ran into the CEO of Cronus and he helped me out. And it was just the start of something to where it wasn't just about making money and closing deals. It was about building things. And I think that whether it's any type of team, and I coach football on the side. I'm a big proponent of teams and how they work. Is that if everybody's on the same page, you are an unstoppable force. And when I got into this industry, I saw what the channel could do and how I could build things up. And I'm like, this is exciting to me. And so going through that painful experience really kind of made me a different type of salesperson because I've been on the side of what pain looks like. And when you walk in to a conference room and you realize that you can't access any one of your customers or any one of your accounts, and you basically have to go back to the phone book to find them. We weren't that advanced back in the day. Is that it's the scariest thing that could happen to a business owner is when you lose data or something imperative happens to your business where it just trickles down. And my biggest fear of all, and in that story, is I never want to do that for a partner. I never want them to lose a customer over something that my product has done. I'd rather walk away from the business and say we can't do it than try to make it fit and break it down. I've slid past $1 million POs back to people saying we can't, of the 155 servers, we can't back up 3 of them. Those are your 3 most important. We got to walk. And I'll never forget the salesperson walking out there cursing me up and down. But I'm like, we did the right thing. And of course, I got called back to corporate saying, what'd you do? And our CTO goes, he did the right thing. He saved us a couple $1 million in development. Because it was 3 IBM servers that we couldn't back up. We had to take them down. And those servers could never be taken down to back them up. And sliding that PO back to them, scary. But in the world of transparency, I got a better partnership out of it. The customer actually respected us for doing it and said, wrote a nice email into my boss saying, I wish more companies had the integrity to do something like this.
That's amazing.
Even in a loss, you get a win.
Yeah.
And for us, one of our values is long-term lasting relationships. And I think if you look at it with that long-term view of we want a good relationship for an extended period of time, you don't do what's not in the best interest of your client. And I think you're showing that, right? That relationship matters. You don't want to give anything that doesn't solve their problem. And I think that's really where Valcom's pretty much one of our biggest strengths is just taking care of the client and having a lasting relationship, because that puts everything in perspective. You're not pushing in a deal. You're not ever selling anything that's not important and not really needed by the customer because you care about that relationship.
And I've had the ability to work with you in different industries, which makes this even more valid, is that the difference in what you do and a lot of partners don't do is that there's more of a human aspect of what's in the best interest of the customer, not in the best interest of my bottom line. And I think that if a lot more partners took that approach where, would you sell this to a family member? Right? And if you can't answer yes, then why would you? And I think that comes across to your customers. I think it comes across to me as one of your partners. And it's something that a lot of people overlook. And I think that what makes certain like regions, like if you go into areas of like Missouri, they work with the same guys they've worked with for 20, 30 years. There's a reason for it. Utah and Nevada are the same way. They're pockets that traditionally have been surrounded by nothing. They've just been big pockets. And as how much Salt Lake has grown over the last 5 to 10 years, it's been crazy. But as long as you stick to those principles, you get referrals. You get people like me that are wanting to do business with you because I already know what to expect out of the relationship. I can't walk in there with my hand out. It has to be a partnership where we're both contributing. And I think that's something that you guys do better than most every partner, regardless of the region. If we took your business model and put it in every state, it'd work. And that's something that I can't say about a lot of partners.
Thanks, Mark. I really, really appreciate that. And we're trying to expand nationally with our national team. I don't know if you had a chance to work with them, but trying to take that same culture. It's a little more difficult remotely, but it's working.
And I think that we did an event where there was the balloon in New Mexico, and it was a light turnout for us. But guess what? Everybody that came by the booth, we had a conversation with. We met with them after, and we were like, pound for pound, that was one of the best events we've done in the last year. And because we got meetings with everybody that came by and talked to us. Why? Because we were there as a representative with you. There was instant credibility that was brought because we were a partner of yours. And I think that it lowered that barrier that you get between a customer and a product, where there wasn't any really selling we had to do. It's like, we're like Vulcan, we solve problems. How can we solve them together? And that, it was like, I remember my channel manager after the event, she's like, it wasn't the biggest event we've ever done, but it was one of the best. And it's the reason why we do your big IT one that's coming up here in about a month and 45 days. Yeah. Is that it's a rubber stamp that I do every year, because I have the best conversations with your customers because they're eager. And I think that if I could like do a video of how to be a partner in the channel, I would use a lot of the principles you guys have, and I'm not just blowing smoke at you. Like, you guys are a model that I wish a lot of partners would adapt to.
Thank you for that. Means a lot for us as really, to Mike's point, building those relationships, long-term relationships, both with our customers and our vendors, is, I think, the key to our success from the very beginning. 40 plus years of really trying to do our best at taking care of, our customers, our employees, our vendors. You said earlier, there is a way in these deals where everybody wins. And I think sometimes we, especially in a sales transaction, sometimes the stereotype is that that's not the case. And certainly we want to continue to do that. And working with you, it's clear that we can do that. And your mentality is what really can make that successful. So, just thank you for, being a great partner and showing us, right? I think teaching us how to do that as well. So,
well, it helps when you have someone that understands the value and how hard it is to acquire a customer. It's not easy, and once that customer trusts you, is that there's an expectation that you have to live up to. And I think that, for you to pivot and go into a security first company, a lot of companies wouldn't have the integrity to do, because it's hard. And you guys made the pivots seamlessly because same principles, and it's a model that I think a lot of people should adopt, is that level of comfort that I think you guys give your customers is just second to none. And as long as I say I work with you guys, I get instant credibility. That's the biggest thing as a supplier, is that I know guys in my small town of Idaho Falls that know who you are. They love working with you because you have got a great team here. And I think that when you hear that customer feedback, it's one thing to see it firsthand, but when you hear it from a customer, it's another. It's just validation. And I think that a lot of times is if you don't spend enough time building that validation, that you're just going to have customers that come to you and buy one thing from you rather than the whole stack.
Yeah. And I love your insights, Mark. Tell us about I do want people to know what Sectigo is, because I think it solves a
Sure.
real problem. And I know that's not the most actually, I do think it's one of the most interesting. I think you guys solve it in a way. I was going to say it's not the most interesting, but I do actually think what you do is interesting, and everyone needs to know that. I don't think Sectigo is a household name yet, as far as in every IT manager's thinking. But tell us, how would you explain that to an exec? So, two things. I want to understand what Sectigo does, and then how should an IT director, a CIO, explain that to the CEO? Like what you do, what problem you solve, why it's important. I do think that's an important part
It's
of this.
the one reason why I came over to Sectigo was because I saw something that I had never seen before, where the industry, the cab forum, basically put a mandate down on everybody that the life cycles of their certificates were going to shorten from 1 year to 200 days, down to 100 days, down to 47. And what a lot of people don't understand is that in what we do, we're probably the stickiest product inside an environment, because not only do we protect every domain, website that company has, but they have certificates on the private side, their devices. So when you look at what Sectigo does as a whole, is that we are basically a PKI solution that has the ability to issue both public and private certs, which a lot of my competition doesn't do. And we have the ability to manage those through Acme and automation that allows customers to basically renew their certificates without having to spend time to do it. The reason why it's important is it's in one of those situations where I can always save a customer ROI. I can always save them money through a discount, something that we provide or the partner provides. But at the end of the day, I'm not a time machine. I can't give you your time back. And the time that you waste doing the certificates manually, which takes 3 to 8 hours per certificate, you can take that time and put it towards other projects that are more valuable. So by setting your certificates up on automation every 200 days, you don't have to manually go in there and redo every single one of them. Now, by the time that in September, because the mandate happened last week, where October 15th it starts, in 200 days from now, which is September, they're going to have to renew their certificates. And another 200 days from September, in March, they're going to have to do it every 100, which is going to make it 4 times a year that they're going to have to renew their certificates. And so if they don't do this through an automated process, it's going to affect how they manage their certificates. It's going to be too hard for them to do this and waste all this time. And I will say this because it happened at your event. I brought my salesperson to the event, and everybody that I said certificates to, their face just went pale. Number one, because they hate them. They're a pain in the butt to rip and replace.
You're just talking about them, and I have a little bit of angst about it.
It's PTSD. I think that because they know all the time that they spend working on them is that it's just time wasted, and there's no monetary gain that the cab form is putting in this. It's improving your security posture. So at the end of the day, what's important is that by lowering the certificates in their cycles, is that it's giving a company better security posture, and it's making it harder for bad actors to sit in your system and learn what you do. Because right now, with quantum computing coming down the pipeline, it's scary to folks. And it's on top of every CISO's list is quantum computing. How are they going to protect themselves from it when that starts becoming more of a problem? And instead of waiting for the problem to happen, CISOs are now putting that on their plate first and foremost, so that when they bring it to their CEOs, Mike, to circle it back to our conversation, is that they're saying, if we don't do this, X, Y, and Z is going to happen. Because right now, They could have a bad actor that's sitting on their system and learning what they're doing, and they have no idea, because that they're learning how a customer does their thing, how they handle incident response, how they log into their passwords. They learn all these different things that they're doing, but they're just harvesting all this data. And so by flipping the certificates as often as you can, and eventually I think it'll be done to 10 days, is that you're really improving your security posture and all this. And you can go to compliances, you can print out reports and saying, we are secure. And because certificates are so sticky, they touch everything in the environment, not just from the domain sign, but every single solitary device that you have inside your network has a certificate to it. And so these things are important, because imagine if you couldn't go on to, like I did yesterday, Dick's Sporting Goods website was down for 12 hours. And I had to buy my son some cleats. And I didn't want to spend money because I had a 30% discount at Dick's Sporting Goods. But I couldn't log on to their page because they had a certificate outage. And what that did was it delayed my sale. Now imagine if you quantify that in North America, how much money you're losing just by one certificate outage happening to you. So the value to what Sectigo does, and our competitors can do the same thing, or not the same thing, but just differently, is that we make it easier for companies to feel safe, that the data that's going back and forth between each other is encrypted, and that information traveling from point A to point B is encrypted as well. And so certificates provide that comfort. They're just not the sexiest thing on the planet. They're just the worst nightmare for most IT people, because it's time and effort that you could be wasting on other more important projects other than certificates. That's what makes this such a compelling argument. And we don't lose deals to product. We lose deals to do nothing, because.
So let's talk through that, because I really think, and this is a problem our clients have. It's a super needed tool that has ROI for them. But very often Josh brings me a tool, even for Valcom, that's a cybersecurity tool or a time-saving tool. And
I'm already trying to think how I'm going to sell him on this, Mark.
I don't feel the pain. And so I'm like, well, it's being done right now. It's being done fine right now. And the IT team just feels the pain. How have you seen smart and savvy IT professionals talk to their executives to get the executives to buy off on making their lives easier? Because it is more secure. But I just think that gap, like how you say it, could be helpful to people to know, even on any technology, right? It's really, how does a technology leader sell to the executives IT that frankly isn't understood, right? You start saying certificates, I'm like, our CEOs don't know, and they're like, okay, certificate, what does a certificate do? Is it really 3 to 8 hours? Well, you should do it in 30 minutes. Just make sure you have a spreadsheet. Like, explain to me how you would train a CIO or IT professional to talk to their executives about.
It's very simple. And I said this to the CISO for the state of California. Are you a proactive IT department, or are you reactive? Proactive saves you money. Reactive costs you money. First and foremost. If you don't understand that principle, then you shouldn't be a CISO.
This is going to work out great for me.
Yep. Is that when you're reactive, you're fixing what is already a problem. When it's proactive, you're actually looking forward to a solution that could solve something that you'll never see. And I think that what a lot of IT departments, when they're planning for their, whether it's quarterly, yearly, what their budgets look like, they have to budget for stuff that's unseen. And one of the things that, and this helps a lot, especially in the state and local and education space, they don't have a lot of budget to work with every year. They get allocation, and you have to make the money work. You have to stat rank what's important and keeps your business operating. And you have to build out what to me is a stat ranking system that says, if this goes down, we are in trouble. We need allocation for what that does. You'll see most of the budgets in IT, 60% of it is invested on security. So what in security, what are the most important things? What are the stickiest things? You stat rank what those things are. And then when it comes time for approvals or anything that you need to do, if that thing is important to you and it solves a big problem that you have, those projects get pushed through faster than the ones that are least important to you. And when you look at certificates, again, not the most fun thing to talk about, but how sticky is it in the environment? If your domain goes down, customers can't buy from you, or they can't understand or get information from you. All you see is proceed with caution and click to be safe. And if you're an IT person and your team is going through and saying, go through it anyway, you're now exposing the company to this wide problem. So when I look at someone like Sectigo, I would stat rank us as high because of everything that we touch. And it's really identifying that as a partner. I think that you should sit down with your customers, whether it's monthly, quarterly, depending on how much they're invested with you, and really say, I need to know what are the most important things to you, and I need to bring you some important ideas that we've discovered. And that's where you really get to learn partners like me, Cisco, Fortinet, Sophos, whoever you work with, on the things that are coming up in the industry that could impact and be detriment. Those are the things that you bring to them every year saying, if you don't have this budgeted, find a way to do it because it's going to be important to you. And so really that's where the partner becomes that trusted advisor. And I think that selling that to the uppers will really help you a lot, because when I first talked to the CISO at the state of California, he said, I have 8 people that manage certificates today and 4 are coming up for retirement. My response back to him was, do you want to get it down to 2? And I'm straight faced. He's like, well, how do I do that? I go, automate your certs.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he said, I never do this, whipped out his card and said, call me. So
it's such an interesting thing as you're talking through this. I'm just imagining all the ways that our certificates have kind of failed us. And we're not a retail business, and it's kind of unseen to everyone else right up until our internal certificate to connect to the Wi-Fi goes down. And I'm getting a call from everybody. Why is the Wi-Fi down? Why is the Wi-Fi down? And now I've got to go fix that. And I've got my team that's not available to fix it, and it's such an interesting kind of challenge, because I think you said earlier, it doesn't generate revenue necessarily. This is a protection. This is really saying, hey, we want to make sure this is dialed in so that there aren't issues. Because when there are issues, it will cost there's a significant cost to a failure in certificates, internal or external, right? But those are always a little bit harder to sell, right? We're just avoiding a problem. But I think when you can show that, and I think how you talk about that, just to your point, is really, really impactful. So,
it's proactive and reactive.
Yeah.
It's which door do you want to take? And for me, it's, again, for someone who does not like surprises, I'm always going to be proactive to make sure I don't get them. Yeah. And I would compare it to like any type of like roof leak that you have. If you don't address the leak at the beginning, it becomes a more expensive problem. Because you handle the roof, you handle the ceiling, you handle the floor. Now you have 3 problems when you could have handled it the first time at 1. And so it's that type of mentality that it's one thing in IT that I think often gets missed is when you're building out budgets for the year, what is important to the business? You have to identify what are the key functions to the business? What are the costs to keep those maintaining? And how do we push some things that are important to us above them? And because a lot of times where we lose our deals is do nothing. It's because they didn't budget this at the beginning part of the year. Now it's an added expense on top of it because they didn't anticipate it. And that's where being proactive could save you a lot more money than now being reactive in it.
I love your insights. Love what you've shared with us today. Any last, as you've learned through the years working with partners, working with CEOs, working with IT professionals, what are a couple things that you would just want them to know and understand? And I'm leaving that intentionally broad because there's so many angles you could take, but some of the biggest lessons you've learned or observed or guidance that you would want to give and say, hey, every CEO should know this, or every IT professional should
I'll
do
say what every
this.
salesperson should know, Mike.
That would be wonderful.
You're not there to sell them something. You're there to help them. And I think that gets missed a lot, is that if you're positioning something to them, it's because you're aware of a problem. And listen, I'm here to help you. This is why I'm here to help you. This project needs to be put in front because certificates, like I'll use us as an example, certificates now are being mandated to 200 days. If you don't do this, you're going to have a problem down the road. I'm here to help you in that problem. A lot of people come in and say, oh, I just learned this new thing and I want to sell it to you. What's the value of selling it to them? Are you helping them in any way, shape, or form, or are you just putting lipstick on a pig? I think that it would lower the wall of an IT person to be more receptive to what you're saying. A CISO, if he understood that you're there to help them, would be more willing to listen and say, yeah, I can move this budget to here. If they understand that you're there to help rather than sell. And I think that if there's one thing that I've learned in the last 10 years, and probably one of the most successful campaigns I ever ran, was we called our partners who didn't know much about my product at the time and said, how can I help you do more of this? And that month, we quadrupled the amount of leads that we got through the channel just by saying to the partners, how can we help you? And then we kind of pass that mantra on to them selling to the customers, hey, how can I help you in this? And I think taking that approach, I've seen being the most successful. And again, it lowers everybody's guard when, if you're sitting there with a bloody nose and you don't have a napkin anywhere inside and someone walks over and goes, here we go. That helpfulness is again, lowers down everything. And I think that that happened yesterday with my son in the car. So that's why it's relevant. But, he was thankful the fact that I had something there right there. I just whipped it out of my glove compartment and said, here. He's like, oh, crisis averted. And I think that taking that approach has been a big beneficial in my career. And I just like passing on it on to as many people as that just take a step back and realize how you can help people rather than sell them something.
I love that.
That's awesome.
I love your insights. I love talking to you. I love the value that you've brought to me over the 12 years that we've known each other and been able to work together. And I mean that. I really appreciate you, Mark. And I've always enjoyed what I've learned and our meetings and being your partner. So thank you very much. And thanks for your time.
Thanks, Mark.
A lot.
You know what? I again, when the opportunity came up to meet with you guys today, it was like, clear my schedule. And I know with March Madness, everybody's got their screens up and
schedules are booked.
Yep. Is that, this is just, it's a great way to spend time because again, we're helping everybody else understand what you do, what I do, and how we can help the community at large. And I think that stuff like this is just awesome.
Well, we appreciate it. I think this one's different than some of the other technology focused ones we've had because it really has helped us focus on what makes a good channel partner, what makes us a better partner, and how we can better serve our clients. And I think that is something that needs to be discussed more. I don't think a lot of people are training or teaching or have that experience. At least from the people I talk to, there's a lot more insight that someone can gain from.
Well, I'm working on my own podcast that I'm going to call the Pretzel Logic. And it's basically helping conversations like this where we're talking to other channel executives and how we can better service the VAR community on programs, working with sales, working with IT, working with marketing, to where we can start triggering ideas to make this better.
Yes.
You know?
Cool.
So
the pretzel logic. I love that.
Great name too.
Well, let's do this
Steely
again.
Dan album. So that's where the reference comes from. It's a Steely Dan album that my son loves.
All right.
Cool.
The pretzel. I love it. Well, thank you very much. We're gonna run, but let's do it again. I would love to do this. I think
Thank
there's
you
a
guys.
lot. Thank you,
I'll talk to you
Mark.
soon. Take
Appreciate
care.
it.
Yeah.
We'll see you. Bye.
Bye.